Have you ever wondered what it would be like to make smooth, tasteful beats like Turbo? Like, what exactly is bro putting in these hoes to make everyone want one? And how has he perfected the curation of Gunna's new super smooth sound? As you can see, I've been studying Gunna for quite some time, so in this video I want to show you how Turbo makes and mixes smooth beats for Gunna. I designed this video to work for any producer or engineer at any level, so even if you don't know about mixing or music theory at all you need is a functional DAW to make this work. Oh, also, we'll be doing vocals today. Then trust me, you're gonna want to see whose vocals we actually use, and by the end of it, your homies will be begging you to help them make beats and songs just like you. But first, we have to talk about the part that I'm scared will make you click off the video. Music theory. And before you check out and start scrolling for new videos, just hear me out. It took me a long time to realize that the melody is what determines the vibe, and that the melody is mostly determined by the chord progression. Now, I know there's like that 0.00001% minority that disagrees with this, but I'm talking to real musicians who want to make real progress right now. So pipe down, Stan. But anywho, that doesn't really matter because I'm not discussing theory in this video for two reasons. One, I already have multiple guides about that. I mean, how long do you really want this video to be? And two, you can just use some MIDI from my free Horcrux multi-kit that I made for you, which you can find linked in the description below. The ones with the exclamation mark next to them are based around R&B chord progressions that you can use to make smooth melodies like Gunna's new drop, Him All Along, which was produced by Turbo. And that's the key, because Turbo wins the entire battle at the beginning with chord structure. And for that guy that's gonna be like, well, maybe Young Blue made the melody and all Turbo did was the basic trap drums. Brother, to be honest, you could think Gunna made the melody for all I care, because it's not gonna change the fact that it's built around a chord progression, and that's what gives it its specific character. That's kind of like what I'm trying to nail home. I know people in social media like to belabor points that are insignificant. And if you want to capture a more melodically emotional vibe like Gunna, then try using 3 to 5 chords. Let's break down the chord structure of this one melody that I've been working on. Okay, so first let me play this chord progression that ended up being the foundation for the melody of this track. And it's pretty fire. Like I said, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not explaining the theory behind it. The one thing I can tell you is that I've learned a lot of progressions over time, and more importantly, I've learned how to manipulate them to a way that I like, but I'm not so versed in theory that I can explain that to you. There's a lot of dissonance and borrowed chord things happening here that I don't care to research to explain, and I'm sure you wouldn't want to listen to that yap either. What I can tell you that will be useful is that you want to take the bare minimum basics and then practice them until they're second nature. So the key with that is to stop being a proud overthinker and just use the chord progressions as if they're templates for your melodies. So let me just take you through a few beginner chord progressions for smooth vibes, and then you can use those to start building your own melodies, which is basically how I came up with this one. Oh, you can also just copy this one too if you want. Go ahead and take a screenshot of that. So one that I really like to do is basically where you build that Travis Scott chord progression. And then you just kind of like flip it. You basically just reverse it. And now you have an R&B progression. And then you can add sevenths. So if you want to add a seventh to a major chord, you literally just go 3 spaces up from the top note of the fundamentally built major chord. So basically go up from the 5th. And then if it's a minor chord, then you go up 2 spaces from the 5th. Just like super smooth, and you can literally just repeat that. Okay, so for this one, we're gonna open up Centerfold to grab some scale highlighters. And again, you do not actually need Centerfold to do this. You could literally just copy this. Music theory is the same no matter what. We're gonna need the 4 chord, we're gonna need the 5 chord, and then we're gonna need the 3 chord. So it goes 4, 5, 3. So we can get rid of everything I do not need, which is 1, 2, 6, 7, and then we'll move the 3 to the end like this. Get rid of these scale highlighters, and then we'll just like space out the chord progression like that, maybe. That hoe kinda hard. And I build most of my R&B progressions off of this actually. Like I'm pretty sure the one that I ended up using for this melody was based at least a little bit on this. So go ahead and copy that and use this as your template too. You can even voice some of the chords. Like I could voice these up. Could undo that and voice these down instead. Then you could get into turning these into borrowed chords by changing the root notes down here with the left hand. You see what I'm doing right now? Like getting into changing this progression, I'm adding stuff and now it's starting to change. That's basically what I do with these very basic chord progressions as templates, and I'm glad I was able to catch that. Ooh, that whole hard, that might be it right there. And then we just like randomize that, strum it a little bit. So you see what I'm saying? Hopefully you're picking up what I'm putting down. Half the battle at least is won when you lock down a good smooth chord progression from the beginning. But as I'm sure you know, you can't really just call it a day after you have a good chord progression. Like imagine if everyone came up with banger MIDI and then just passed it through FL keys. I'm not saying FL keys isn't usable, but just that hopefully anyone who doesn't regularly eat chalk can kind of pick up on what I'm trying to say here. Like, peep this. I really used to think that it's the drums that makes the vibe of the beat. And now you better not start acting like I haven't used this exact clip in like 100 videos on this channel.
Drums. To say, the drums. The drums. I don't give a fuck about nothing else. You hear me? Nothing, bro. Nothing. I don't care.
It's all about the drums.
The drums, bro. Don't fuck up the drums. You can do everything but fuck up. Just don't fuck up the drums.
But I really don't think it's the drums that establish the vibe. And further, thinking that they did really kept me from learning an important truth about music production. And it's that once you have the chord progression, melodic sound selection is the biggest key in establishing the vibe. This is basically where the magic happens. You establish your unique style and everyone picks and orders sounds differently simply by the nature of there being so many possible combinations. Also, you develop an understanding of which VSTs have sounds that you like, so you don't always have to waste time searching, and that's the whole reason behind why my repro is color coded with these stickers. And you develop your most valuable skill, which is taste, the ability to know what things sound good in specific context. And this is really the game changer. It's what we are fervently working towards as creatives. So let me dive back into this beat and show you how I did the sound selection for the melody. So the first instrument that I laid down after I got the MIDI done was an organ. And so from repro, I used this romantic nostalgia patch. So if we paste it in and take a listen, from there, I printed it to audio. Then I brought it into the mixer and I added halftime with these settings, a neutron equalizer with these settings, a transient shaper to reduce some of the harsh front end transients of the keys, some delay from Fruity Delay 2 for width, and then another neutron equalizer to tame some of those resultant frequencies from all the effects. So here's what that sounds like now. The next instrument I did was a piano. So what I actually did was open up BBC Symphony Orchestra, select the piano, and then patcherize it with some retro color and some radiator. So here's what the MIDI sounded like. And again, that's just the chords we came up with initially with the motif built on top of it. So then I print that to audio. And then the effects that I added for the piano was some halftime. Then I added a neutron equalizer just for some high passing. I added a Portal preset from my upcoming free Portal pack. It'll be dropping for Christmas as a gift for y'all. But here's the macros. It's a little crazy if you want to take a look at it and try copying it. We've got another neutron equalizer with a bit of dynamic EQ right here and a little bit more high passing again because the effects keep reintroducing new frequencies. And then again, we have some just slight transient shaping to tame some of those front end hits from the keys. A bit of console EQ up to about 200 hertz down here as well. And together with the effects, it sounds like this. That's probably one of my favorite instruments in the entire beat. All right, so next is the lead melody, and for this we have to come back into repro. For the lead, I used this AZ Psychic patch, and so what I did was actually just shorten the chords from our initial progression, and then I just let the monophonic character of the lead patch kind of do its own thing. So from there, I print that to audio, of course. And the effects on the lead were relatively subtle, just some halftime, and then some outer space, which is tape delay, and with these effects. So if we take a listen to the lead with all of that applied, and it just sounds so dope. So next we have a Vox, because when I was listening to him all along on absolute repeat during my workouts, I noticed that it had this random Vox hit that would come in during certain sections of the arrangement. And I didn't really feel like looking through Splice or like downloading Arcade to try finding vocals, so I just used my own voice. No way in hell am I gonna let you hear the raw vocals, but I will show you the effects that I added to it before I play it for you. So what I did was hum a bunch of nonsense to a pretty simple melody I made that followed the chord progression. Then I added some EQ to accentuate the nice sounding frequencies in my voice. I added this limiter to do some compression and limiting things. And then I added pitcher in the key of the song in order to auto-tune my voice basically. From there, I fed it into this vocal effects like sub bus with more Portal like presets from my new kit, which is coming out. Join my email list if you want to stay updated to that. And then I just sent it to like a vocal bus composite, which just had some compression on there with like, you know, presets and stuff. So now let me let you hear that in context with the piano in the lead. Alright, so after that, it was as simple as finding some really dope bass patches, because I noticed in him all along, it switched and alternated between a dope long synth bass and then a synth bass pluck. So first, let's do the pluck. And for that, I used this AZ funk patch, and then I used this MIDI right here. So let's grab that, paste that, and give it a listen. And I did print that to audio, but there weren't too many crazy effects other than some signal flow processing, you know, like the stereo distortion send that I tend to do on a lot of my low end stuff. So then from there, we did the synth bass. And so that was this MA determinate patch. And this is so fire. And again, I didn't really do too much with that other than print it and then process it in the back end when I was done with the track. So now let's give a listen to our melody in full context. Absolutely crazy. And now for the part y'all low-key stay asking about, which is kind of crazy because where did y'all think I was gonna get the vocals to teach you how to mix vocals? Context: I usually only mix for established artists and I can't exactly share those projects. And to be fair, you didn't even watch the one vocal tutorial that I did actually make, so what you want from me, man? But I think I still figured out a situation where everyone wins here. You see, ever since Kyle tricked me into rapping in front of what's come out to nearly 1 million people at this point, I've been practicing rapping on and off. So I'm about to show you how I wrote, recorded, and mixed vocals to lay down on this beat in FL Studio. This is gonna be a super quick hitting lightning lesson, but join my newsletter to stay up to date because I'm gonna be writing a lot more about all these specific topics on there. For now, let's jump back into this beat so you can hear my first time recording my own vocals. Okay, so again, no way in hell am I letting you hear the raw vocals, so let's just talk through this very quickly. In terms of writing, I just wrote it down in this graph paper journal that I have, and bro, I did not complicate it. You know the same way you get good at making beats by just copying producers that you like and then developing your style from that over time? Bro, I literally just copied Gunna's flow and then kind of added my own sauce to it. I mean, I'm not exactly a complete and total noob to rapping, so that helped too. And like, I'm competent at like writing, so that was helpful as well. But what I can say is you want it to be catchy with punchlines, you want it to rhyme, and you want it to flow with the beat. Now, in terms of the recording process, signal flow for MacBooks are actually dog shit and I didn't feel like figuring it out. So what I would do is just record in Audacity, which is free. MIDI, I would export from here, and then I would drag it into FL Studio for editing. And then in terms of editing and mixing, it's really just mixing. So here's the EQ that I added to my actual rapping vocals. Then I added a transient processor, which is FL Studio's stock transient shaper. I wanted to use this to take out some of the front end bite from the consonants I was saying. Then I used a limiter for compression and limiting things. Fruity limiter is absolutely OP, gang. And then pitcher for auto-tune things, again, was in the same key as the Vox that I used for melody. From there, just a few signal things. I had this overall widen delay preset as a send to give it width. The Vox is completely mono, so that helps it kind of fill up spectral space. Then I had another send for synced quarter note delays at the end of every 4 bars or 8 bars, kind of depending on the arrangement of the beat. And then after that, I sent everything to a composite vocal bus, which just had fruity limiter, again, doing some limiting and compression things. Some radiator to add saturation, which reduced the dynamic range just a little bit more for my vocals, which really added warmth and nice harmonics. And then some neutron with these settings here. I had a sculptor, an equalizer, and a compressor. So now let's sample the vocals.
Double my cup, double my ice. When we fuck, she look in my eyes. Tell lil' bro, cut all that, yeah, get back to bagging my fries. Pussy ass nigga, cry me a river, I'm surfing that shit for life. Fuck your bitch and gave her back, you crying, bro, that's...
And you know what? Let's run that back one more time so we can just hear a demo of the full track that we have finished today.
Double my cup, double my ice. When we fuck, she look in my eyes. Tell lil' bro, cut all that, yeah, get back to bagging my fries. Pussy ass nigga, cry me a river, I'm surfing that shit for life. Fuck your bitch and gave her back, you crying, bro, that's life. You unsettled or upset, scream falsettos in your head. We all gonna let my set, we ain't made to let your deck. I put that on all our decks, got $1 million under the bed. Pass on us at your own risk and came back with them open hands.
And I actually did drop this. It is literally out right now. Check out the first link in the description below. Please support it. This is literally the first rap song I've ever dropped. I would love to get your thoughts. Let me know down below. I can hear you now. But Chew, what about the drums? Look, man, I wanted to include a bunch of stuff in this video about how to establish good simple bounces and pockets, but it really made the script drag. I'll make a YouTube short specifically about the drums in this beat later this week, but for now, check out this full guide on your screen or in the description below to learn my entire drum programming method.